The defense would call Deputy Chief Reed Patel.
So say you confused me when you said my next witness is Ms. Watt, and I'm like, I don't think we can do it that way.
I'm pretty sure there'd be an objection for your...
Deputy, you're still under oath from last week. Proceed.
Thank you. Sir, you testified previously in this case, is that correct?
I did.
And on August 30th, 2017, did you have the opportunity to meet with Ms. Harris when you first arrived on scene?
I did.
And at that time, were you equipped with a body camera?
I was.
So was that interaction you had with Ms. Harris captured on your body camera?
Yes, it was.
And have you been shown what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit B?
Yeah, I've seen the video. It's in its entirety.
So would that be a fair and accurate copy of your interaction with Ms. Harris?
Yes, it would be.
Your Honor, the defense would move to admit what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit B.
Any objection?
The first 2.5 minutes of Defendant's Exhibit B. No objection.
Have either A or B been uploaded, do you know?
No, Your Honor, I did.
Okay.
We'll be back for Your Honor.
Okay. But it's admitted.
At this time, would ask to publish that 2.5 minutes to the jury.
Any objection?
No.
Merrilee, would you take the lights down, please?
Where are they? Hey.
So, there you go. Go get your stuff. Blood coming out of his mouth.
Blood coming out of his mouth.
Cold. Stiff.
He's stiff. There's no way it's been since 11.
Okay. Okay.
So you're going to want to investigate this.
You just.
This is wet.
Yeah, let's not touch anything for now. Hi. Excuse me.
Excuse me.
Hi. Hi. Can we step in here for a minute? Is that okay? So we have the baby and this one. Watch out! You're poking mom. There we go. Okay. Do you have some identification, you guys? Can we just talk for a minute here? So, can you hold? Oh, okay.
Sorry, I'm just shocked. I
Yeah.
work nights. I just woke up. She woke me up.
She woke you up?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was sleeping. I worked nights.
Okay. I'm so sorry. Okay. All right, Cheyanne. And what's this one's name?
Nala.
Nola?
Nala. N-A-L-A.
Okay. And what's the baby's name?
Sterling.
Sterling?
Yeah. Sterling.
Like Sterling Silver.
When was Sterling born?
He was born May 1st.
2016.
Okay. And Nala? When was Nala born?
She was born November 8th, 2015.
I have no further questions.
State, have any questions? Lights back up, please. Can this witness be excused? You may step down. Defendant's next witness.
Your Honor, at this time, the defense would request to read the former sworn statement of Zachary Koehn.
Any objection from the state?
Since he is unavailable, Your Honor, the state has no objection.
All right. Mr. Koehn gave prior testimony while under oath that will now be read into the record pursuant to an agreement between the parties. Mr. Hawbaker, will you be reading the part of Mr. Koehn?
I will, Your Honor.
And Ms. Watt will be doing the direct.
Yes, Your Honor, and Mr. Coleman, I believe the cross. Or Mr.
McAllister. See, I'm not the only one that does
Not the
that.
only one.
Could the court reporter be excused?
Yes.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes, Your Honor.
Can you explain what's happening? So this is what happened.
Mr. Koehn previously gave testimony while under oath. He's not available to testify in this trial. So the state or the defendant is going to read in that prior testimony.
So what are they going to do?
Then they will read the questions that were asked of him on cross-examination in the prior trial. And I'll give you a more clarifying instruction when I give you the jury instructions on this issue, okay?
So they're reenacting.
Pardon me?
Kind of reenacting then?
Yes.
For the record, you are Zachary Koehn,
Yes.
and you are Sterling Cohen's father.
Yes, I am.
Mr. Koehn, let's start with the obvious and pressing question. Did you intend to do anything that would result in Sterling's death?
I did not.
Did you want your son to die?
No.
Did you love Sterling?
I did.
Mr. Koehn, I'm going to come back to that, but first I need to get some other information. So let's talk about some background information. How old are you?
I am 29 years old.
What's your birth date?
10/6/89.
Where were you born at?
Merced, California, or Fresno, in that area.
Did you grow up in California?
For probably 2 years, 1 or 2 years. I can't remember. I was just a toddler at the time.
Where did you go after California?
To Iowa.
Where at in Iowa?
McIntyre area in northeast Iowa region.
Did you have a TV growing up?
I did not.
How about a radio?
No.
Where did you go to school?
I went to Wild Rose Christian School over by McIntyre. It's a private Mennonite school.
How far did you go in school?
8th grade.
Did you graduate from the 8th grade?
I did.
At the school that you went to, what kind of classes did they teach?
Basic academics like math, language, penmanship, science, and social studies, things like that.
When you say science, did they teach psychology at all?
No.
What about biology?
I don't recall that. No. It would have.
What about physiology?
No.
How old were you when you graduated from the 8th grade?
I was 14.
Did you have any more formal education past the 8th grade?
No, I did not.
Since you stopped going to school at the age of 14, what did you do?
I started working part-time for a slurry hauler, liquid hog manure, and then after that, I was probably 15 or 16, I started full-time.
Where were you living when you were 15 or 16?
15, I was living with my parents. 16, I moved out and I co-rented with a co-worker of mine.
Have you been outside of your parents' home since that time?
Yes.
Now, you were excommunicated from the Mennonite community. When did that happen?
When I was 16.
Why did that happen?
I was drinking and smoking.
Was that something you were supposed to be doing legally at 16 or 17?
No.
Let's stick with talking about some things that you're not supposed to do for a few minutes. Methamphetamine?
Yes, I did.
When did you start using methamphetamine?
Oh, it would have probably been off and on when I was 17 because we were working pretty long hours and moving slurry. We ran 24-hour shifts, and so I was introduced to it saying it worked better than no dose.
What is no dose?
It's a high-level caffeine pill.
And what do you use no dose for?
Staying awake.
Sir, when did you last use methamphetamine?
I'm sorry?
When did you last use methamphetamine?
It would have been a week or two prior to this incident.
So with that, I don't want to put words in your mouth at all. Would that have been mid-August 2017, somewhere around in there?
Yeah.
From the time that you were 17, well, I should just clarify, how old were you in August of 2017?
I was 27 years old.
Did you use methamphetamine throughout that time, from the time you were 17 until you were 27?
Yes.
When you were using methamphetamine, how much did you use on average?
I would use about every 2 days, and it would be a gram or so.
Did you ever seek any professional help for using methamphetamine?
After the state got involved, I did.
And when was that the state got involved?
When Ms. Schrader was involved, she pointed us to some classes at Prairie Ridge, and I took them.
What is Prairie Ridge?
It is a drug treatment center and rehabilitation.
Was that inpatient or outpatient?
Mine was outpatient.
How long were you in treatment?
I was still in treatment when I got arrested, which was on the 24th or 25th of October.
Of 2017?
Yes, I was still going to appointments.
You told Agent Turbot that you never did anything other than marijuana. Do you remember telling him that?
Yes.
Why did you tell him that?
I don't like to discuss drug use with police officers, obviously. I mean, I was frightened.
When you were living with Cheyanne, did she use methamphetamine?
Yes.
Were you aware that she was using?
Sometimes and sometimes not.
Did you sometimes give her methamphetamine?
I did.
How did that come about? What, were you like a drug dealer or?
No, there's times she would ask for it, and there's times she would talk about quitting, so I would hold off. And she would become tough to deal with if I didn't give it to her, and I don't know. I guess I was just persuaded by her to give her some. But yeah, that's how it worked.
You're not saying that anybody was forcing you to use methamphetamine, correct?
No.
To your knowledge, did she use during Sterling's life?
During his life?
Yes.
Yes.
Did you know that Cheyanne was using when she was pregnant with Sterling?
No, I did not.
To the best of your knowledge, when did you think that she started using methamphetamine again?
We had previously moved to Louisiana, and I was hauling oversized loads out there. And she came back approximately a month earlier, and then I took the train up later. So I'm assuming that's when that could have happened because she knew people back home in Iowa.
But you don't know for sure?
I do not know for sure, no.
I mentioned the test at the hospital. I want to follow up on some other information from the hospital. In your interview with Agent Turbot, you mentioned that baby blues were mentioned at the hospital. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's correct.
And I believe you also mentioned Lexapro.
Yes.
Do you know whether Cheyanne was taking Lexapro?
Can we take a break real quick?
We can.
I don't know that the jury needs to leave. I just need to check my transcript.
Okay.
Yep, page 20, line 5.
If you want to consult with Ms. Watt, that's fine.
There was a prescription bottle, but not to my knowledge if she was taking it or not.
If at any time Cheyanne had told you that she was feeling depressed after Sterling was born, what would you have done?
I would have tried to make an appointment for her to seek help for that.
Let's talk about your work for a bit. Where were you working when Sterling passed away?
Nugent Nuggets.
That's selling chickens, correct?
Yes.
How long had you been working there when Sterling died?
Since about May 15.
Did Mr. Nugent ever give you a corporate credit card?
Yes.
Why did he give you the card?
It was for fuel, but it was also a credit card. You could buy anything with it.
Did he say that you could buy anything with it?
No. It was for fuel and truck supplies like washer fluid, antifreeze, oil, stuff like that.
Did you ever charge anything on that credit card that you were not supposed to charge?
Quite a few things.
What did you charge on Mr. Nugent's credit card that you weren't supposed to?
The one receipt for Highview was actually one of the times. I let Cheyanne take the credit card, and she went and got some groceries and other supplies. And there's times that I would be on the road, especially up in North St. Cloud, and I wouldn't get loaded that night, so I would have to stay the whole day and just stay up there the whole day. And then the next evening, I would just load at another farm. And my truck has a day cab, so I would usually ask permission before getting a hotel or room up there.
I'm not terribly familiar with trucking, but can you explain what a day cab is?
A day cab is a semi with no sleeper. It's just 2 seats and a gear shift and a steering wheel.
May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
Thank you.
Oh. Okay. Oops.
I know you realize I need help, but
I'm more red than normal right now.
Mr. Mr. Koehn, I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 91 that's previously been entered into evidence. That is a high receipt, correct?
Yes.
Was that the receipt you were referring to when you said the receipt?
Yes.
Thank you. I can go ahead and take that back. And again, how are the groceries that are shown on Exhibit 91 paid for?
By credit card.
At any time, did you ever buy any other supplies on the credit card?
Yes.
What did you buy?
Food and diapers as well.
When you made charges on the corporate credit card that you were not supposed to make for things other than fuel or oil, things like that, what happened with Mr. Nugent? How did he handle that?
The first time I was reprimanded, and the next 2 times I was threatened with termination of my job.
Did he ever deduct the amounts that you paid?
Yes.
Where did he deduct them from?
My paycheck.
When you were trucking, did you keep a log?
I did.
Did you ever use an app called Keep Truckin'?
I did.
What is that app?
It's a electronic log, basically, so when you start out, you type in on this pad where you start out at, and it automatically keeps the time instead of having to write down the time every time.
Where did you keep this app at?
On my tablet.
And when did you start using it?
It would have been the night before.
I'm sorry, the night before what?
The night before the 30th, I believe, because I only used it 1 time.
And you used this app in the course of your employment?
No, just the 1 night.
But that's what you used it for, was employment.
Yeah.
Did your log also carry over into August 30th?
Yes, it did.
Were you working in the morning hours of August 30th, 2017?
I was.
At Nugent's Nuggets, did you work with Greg Nightingale?
I did.
You heard Mr. Nightingale talking about putting some tires on some rims. Do you know what that's about?
Yes. My tires on my car were pretty bald, and I had asked him for some new tires, and I usually bring my car to Simply Essentials parking lot. And so he had brought them with him strapped on the back of his semi, because he took his semi to the plant and he threw them out. And I put 2 in the trunk and 2 in the back seat because 4 wouldn't fit in the trunk.
When was it that Mr. Nightingale brought you those tires?
It would have been the evening previous to that, to the 29th.
So it would have been around August 28th?
Yes.
Okay. Now we talked about some data that you were entering in. Did you have a cell phone at this time?
I did.
And what was the area code of that cell phone?
406.
Where is the 406 area code?
Billings, Montana.
If you were living in Iowa, working in Iowa, why did you have a Billings, Montana cell phone?
Because I used to haul cattle in Billings, Montana.
What time zone is Montana in?
Mountain Standard Time.
Generally, sir, when you worked for Nugent Nuggets, how many hours a week would you actually work?
It varied.
Give me a low end of the hours for the whole week.
Probably 70.
Would be on the low end?
Yeah.
And on the high end for a week, how many hours did you work?
Closer to 80.
Were all of those hours always listed in your logs?
No.
Why not?
The State Patrol would probably not appreciate that very much. It's illegal to go over your time allotted for driving.
So when you were working for Nugent Nuggets, what was your typical daily schedule like? What time would you leave home to go to work?
Usually an hour before my schedule, I would go to work to do my pre-trip and fill out backlogs and back trip sheets from nights before and stuff like that.
How far away was the workplace from where you lived?
About 15, 20 minutes.
And then after you filled out your logs, things like that, what did you do next?
Backed up to the trailers and hooked them up and made sure all the tires were full of air, checked the brakes, checked all the lights, make sure every light's on and working, and just a lot of different maintenance stuff.
Where would you drive to?
Pretty much anywhere in the tri-state area.
So when you say tri-state, which states are you talking about?
Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin.
On a typical, well, let me ask you this. What time of day did you work?
3rd shift.
And to clarify, is that days or nights?
Nights.
How many hours would you work in a typical night?
Usually it depended on the distance of the farm to the plant. Sometimes it could be 5 hours. Sometimes it could, there's a couple times I would wait to load. And I waited for 8 hours one time in Arcadia, Wisconsin.
Do you know what a double load is?
I do.
Did you ever do any double loads?
I did quite a few, yes.
After a typical night of working, about what time would you get home?
Early morning, like very early morning or late night.
Now, you told us that you started working at Nugent Nuggets on about May 15th. I don't think I asked you, is that 2017?
Yes.
Prior to around May 15 of 2017, were you employed?
No.
How long were you unemployed for?
I got back a couple days before my son's birth, and so I would say 20 days approximately that I was unemployed.
Where were you working at before Nugent Nuggets when you were working?
I was working in Louisiana for Pedro Express.
Why did you stop working there?
That one, I stopped working there because Cheyanne wanted to be in Iowa for the birth.
Before you were working in Louisiana, where were you working?
I was working for Freetag. It's a trucking company.
Why did you stop working for that company?
He didn't pay.
So you were working but not getting paid?
Yes.
Let's shift and talk about your finances now. Did you always get paid that much?
No, because of the credit card charges they would deduct.
When you moved to Alta Vista, were you in debt?
Yes.
Where were you in debt to, and how much did you owe?
To the bank, I owe close to $10,000, and my previous landlord, I owed about $1,000 to. In Verizon, I had incurred probably $3,000 worth of debt with them. $1,200 in credit card debt. Family debt was about $3,000 as well.
So did you owe all of this when you started working at Nugent Nuggets?
I did.
We need to discuss Sterling now. Why don't you just tell us how Sterling was born?
He was born in a bathtub
Where at?
at my friend Rick's house.
How is it that Sterling came to be born in the bathtub?
Cheyanne thought she had constipation, and she sat and hollered for me to come to the bathroom, and she's like, "He's coming." And so I immediately freaked out and closed the door and then stood outside the door for a little bit, and then I ran back in and I helped her get in the bathtub to do a water birth.
Has you had any training in giving birth at all?
No.
Now, you had two older children. Were you present when they were born?
Yes.
How did you know what to do?
I had previously watched a water birth at one time in my life.
At any time, did you call 911?
I did, after he was delivered and in her arms.
When were you expecting Sterling?
2 weeks later.
Was he a little bit early?
Yes.
There was some question whether you were Sterling's father. Why would that even be a question?
My other two children were darker complected like me, so I would get asked by other people, because Sterling he was pretty fair complected and he had bright blue eyes, and they would just bring it up and ask, be curious.
What was your answer to this?
I would tell them, honestly, I don't know, but even if he wasn't mine, I was going to still treat him as my own no matter what.
Did you ever change any of Sterling's diapers?
I did not.
Why not?
I don't do well with diarrhea. I start to vomit, and I vomit, diarrhea, things like that. I physically can't. My stomach can't take it. I have a very, very weak stomach.
Had you ever changed any of Nala's diapers?
One wet one, but nothing with feces in it.
Was Cheyanne aware of this? Well, let me ask you this. Did you and Cheyanne ever discuss the fact that you had trouble changing diapers?
Yes.
When did you discuss it?
When she was pregnant with Nala.
How old was Cheyanne when Sterling was born?
19 or 20.
Do you know her date of birth?
2/17/97.
What's Nala's date of birth?
8/15, no, 8, I'm sorry, November, what November is? November 15, 2015.
What was your relationship like with Cheyanne at the time of Sterling's birth?
Wishy-washy, I guess. It was up and then it was down.
Were you always faithful to Cheyanne?
I was not, no.
Was she faithful to you?
No.
Did the fact that you and Miss Harris didn't have the greatest relationship impact your view towards Sterling in any way?
No, it did not.
Going back to the diaper issue, did you ever smell anything coming from Sterling's room or in Sterling's room?
I did. Earlier on, I went in there and I had noticed a smell, and as my weak stomach, I asked about it.
Did you ever remove any dirty diapers from the room?
I did. I removed a bag of them.
After you removed the bag of dirty diapers, let me ask, when did you move the bag of dirty diapers?
It would have been the late afternoon of the 28th.
Did you notice any smells after that?
Yes, when I went in to check on him when he had passed on.
Was the door to the room where Sterling was at normally open, or was it normally closed?
It was normally open.
Did you put any wax air fresheners underneath Sterling's swing?
I did not.
Do you know how they got there?
I do.
How did they get there?
We had a green Scentsy pot in our room, and we had ran out of the cubes, and I had asked her to change up the scent a little bit. So she went to the closet where we had some storage items, and she had taken them out of the package right there and brought one cube over, and she just has a hard time putting things back where they belong.
Where was that? You called it a Scentsy warmer. Where was that located in your apartment?
It would have been in our bedroom.
Do you remember telling Agent Turbot that you had last fed Sterling about 2 weeks before he passed away?
I do.
Is that an accurate statement that you made?
Yes.
Why didn't you feed him during the last 2 weeks of his life or the last couple weeks of his life?
Usually that was when we started changing up our work schedule, so he would be asleep when I would get home from work.
At any time were you aware that he was not being fed adequately?
No.
I think you mentioned in your interview something about Sterling not bulking up. What did you mean by that?
He wasn't getting chubby like Nala was. She was a real chubby baby, and Sterling, he wasn't bulking up from that. And I heard that he was just stretching out, getting taller.
Well, when you say that you heard he was just stretching out, where did you hear that from?
From Cheyenne's mother.
Did you ever talk with Cheyanne about the fact that Sterling wasn't bulking up?
Yes.
Did she express any concerns to you about that?
No.
When you were talking with Agent Turbot, you mentioned something about a friend or a friend with a child who died of SIDS.
Yes.
Did you say in high school?
That was in Riceville.
During the last couple weeks of Sterling's life, or during the month of August, did you ever hold Sterling?
No.
Why not?
Usually he was sleeping, and other times I was not to disturb him, as he was a colicky baby, and they're just super hard to get to sleep.
When you say you were not to disturb him, what do you mean by that?
Like pick him up out of his swing. I could go in and look at him, but he was usually covered in blankets. You could see his little head peeking out.
Now, on the weekends, you were home some of the time, correct? You didn't work 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Did you ever interact with Sterling? I'm talking during the month of August. Did you interact with Sterling at all on the weekends?
Yeah, in the earlier parts.
The last couple weeks of his life, did you interact with him on the weekends?
No, because when he was sleeping. There was one day that I went in and he was reaching up like this, and I put my fingers in his hands and he grabbed them.
Why didn't you go in and play with Sterling over the weekend?
I was usually asleep because of usually the double loads and the hours that I worked, and plus the substance abuse. I was usually pretty tired.
Did Sterling ever come out of the room, and again when I say ever, I'm talking during the month of August 2017, did he ever come outside of that room?
Yes.
How did he get outside the room?
His mother would go in and shut the door and take him out of his swing, and I assume change and diaper him, and then she would put him in the car seat because usually we were going out to eat or something. She'd put him in his car seat and then bring him out in the living room where I would be with my daughter.
When he would come out in the car seat, was he covered in a blanket at all?
Yeah, from here down.
For the record, I believe you indicated about mid-chest.
Yeah, mid-chest down.
At any point during the last couple of weeks of Sterling's life, did you try to interact with him more than you've described?
Yes, there was a few times.
What happened when you tried to interact with Sterling?
Again, I was not to disturb him as he was sleeping usually. He slept a lot when I was awake. I slept when he was awake.
When you went into Sterling's room, well, let me ask this. Was there an overhead light in that room?
Yes.
Did you use the overhead light when you went in there?
No.
Why not?
Because the way he was laying, he would squint at the light, so we figured that was probably hurting his eyes. So we used a lamp in the closet. The closet door is open, so we just put a lamp in there on the deal to keep it off the ground, and that lit up the room, mildly. It wasn't directly in his eyes or anything like that.
So at any time in the month of August, do you recall turning on that overhead light in that room at all?
When he was out of the room.
Did you ever turn it on when he was in the room?
No,
When Sterling would come out of the bedroom in the car seat, did you ever notice any odor?
I did.
What did it smell like?
It was a weird smell. I mean, it almost smelled like vomit, and yeah, so I would, shy away a little bit from it.
Did you ever check what the source of the odor was?
I did. I asked about it.
Who did you ask?
His mother.
Did she say anything about changing diapers?
No, there was a different explanation.
What explanation did she give you?
The milk had spilled in the car seat, and that's what the sour smell was from it.
Mr. Koehn, I want you to walk us through the last couple days before Sterling died. You told Agent Turbot that you played with him the day before. What did you mean by that?
Just so that you don't get confused, my nights and days were offset. So when I meant yesterday, it was the 28th.
How did you interact with Sterling on that day?
That was when he reached his hand up and I put my fingers in them and swung him around a little bit like that in his swing chair.
Did you actually take him out of the chair?
I did not.
Did you notice any gnats or gnat-like bugs?
No.
Was the smell in the room on that day?
Yeah, that's when I took the diapers out.
On August 28, 2 days before you called 911, what did you do during the daytime hours?
I got home probably 11 or so, and I slept from 11 to about 3 in the afternoon, and about late 2 o'clock hour. And then after that, I made some chicken nuggets for the girl, ex-girlfriend, and Nala. And then we watched a movie, Aladdin. And about that time, it was time for me to go because I wanted to be at the plant around 5:40.
So what time did you leave home on August 28, roughly?
About 5:20.
PM?
Yes.
And how long did you work on the 28th? And when I say on the 28th, to be clear, I'm talking starting work on the 28th to the 29th. How long was your shift?
From 5 till, I'd say, midnight, I would think.
And so what time did you get home on the 29th?
On the 29th, let's see, it would have been the evening of the 28th that I left at 5, so I would have got home probably at 1 or 2 in the morning.
What did you do after you got home on the morning of the 29th of August?
Could you repeat that?
Yep. When you got home about 1 or 2 in the morning, what did you do?
I went to bed. I think I made some grilled cheese before. I'm not sure, though. It could have been the next night.
And do you recall what time you got up on August 29th?
Yeah, I stayed in bed pretty long, and then I had to be at work around the same time, so I had slept probably till 2 or 3 in the afternoon again.
On average, how many hours of sleep would you get during the day?
Oh, average about 4 or 5 hours.
On August 29, 2017, did you have any interaction with Sterling?
I'm sorry?
Did you have any interaction with Sterling on August 29, 2017?
No, I didn't.
Why not?
He was sleeping.
Now, we talked about what time you went to work on the 29th.
Uh-huh.
Just to be clear, what time did you go to work on the 29th?
Around 5:20.
And what time did you get home on the 30th?
On the 30th, about 3:34.
After you got home on the morning of the 30th, what did you do?
Oh, I played a game on my phone. It was Bejeweled, and I made a little bit of food because my daughter woke up and she was expressing to me that she was hungry, so I made a little something for her.
Did you hear Sterling at all in the morning hours of August 30th?
I did not.
About what time did you go to bed?
Around 6 a.m.
What time roughly did you wake up?
I was woken up I figured it was 11 or something, but that was from a different phone. It was around noon.
How were you woken up?
She came into the foot of the bed there, and I was sleeping, and she dropped to her knees and was crying hysterically and kept saying, "He's gone, he's gone."
When you say she, who is she?
Cheyanne.
And you said she was crying hysterically?
Yes.
How do you know that she was crying?
I assumed it was crying. She couldn't speak for a while. She was distraught. And yeah, I had to ask her quite a few times questions so she would actually answer that I could understand.
When she was crying and upset, did she tell you what happened?
She had said, "He's gone, he's gone." And then I asked, "Who's gone?" And she's like, "Sterling."
What happened after she said Sterling's gone?
I jumped out of bed and ran to the bedroom there and looked at him. And I noticed he wasn't moving, so I touched right here, and he was cold. And I looked and I seen some blood out of his mouth, or what looked to be blood.
When you say you touched right here, for the record, you touched your forehead?
Forehead, yes,
At that time, when you went into the room, did you turn on the overhead light?
I did.
At some point on the 30th, you called 911, correct?
Yes.
About how long after you woke up until you called 911?
It took a little bit to call because in Alta Vista, there's absolutely no service for Verizon phones, which we have. So I was going back and forth through the apartment trying to get a signal. And then when I couldn't find one in there, I went outside and was holding my phone up trying to get a signal, or her phone, I'm sorry. And then I finally got one after Miss Shriver had spoke to me. And then I went back inside and made the call.
Were you smoking outside?
I was
And why were you outside again?
trying to search for a signal.
And is that the incident that Miss Shriver said where she encountered you?
Yes.
After you found out Sterling had passed away, what were you feeling?
It was like someone punched me in the chest. I couldn't get air. I was in disbelief and shock. I would have called it shock. Maybe other people have different conceptions of shock, but it was just, I was lost.
At any time did you cry?
I did, in private.
Why did you cry in private?
Because when people around you are emotional, I just want to be the one who's like calm and collected so they don't feel like I'm losing control as well.
At any time did you get, I believe you described Miss Harris as hysterical. Did you get like that?
No.
At some point after you had been interviewed by the police and you understood that Sterling had passed away, well, let me ask you this. What did you think had happened to Sterling that morning?
I had thought it was SIDS because in my mind, there was no explanation for why he would have passed away.
Were you at any time during Sterling's life aware that that was the condition that he was in?
No.
If you knew that he was not being fed, what would you have done?
I would have fed him for sure.
If you knew that he was not being changed, what would you have done?
I would have parked a wastebasket beside me and I would have changed him myself.
At any time, is there a reason that you didn't check to see whether he was being changed?
No. I had trusted her judgment. I mean, look at my daughter. She's very healthy, and so I trusted her.
Do you recall Miss Harris making a statement about taking Nala and taking off?
Yes.
And let me clarify, this is after Sterling had passed away, right?
Yes, that's correct.
What was your response to that?
I was shocked. I looked at her and said, absolutely not. Because for one, I want to find out what happened to my son. I said, two, that's going to make us as a couple look very guilty, and it would be a bad idea.
Now, Mr. Koehn, I want to come back to one of the first questions I asked you. Did you know that Sterling had not been changed for some time?
I did not, no.
Were you aware that he was dehydrated?
No, I was not.
Did you want to see Sterling in pain?
I'm sorry?
Did you want to see Sterling in pain?
Of course not, no.
Mr. Koehn, did you want your son to die?
I did not, no.
I don't have any further questions.
Mr. McAllister?
Thank you. So, Mr. Koehn, are you saying that Sterling's death is all the fault of Cheyanne Harris?
No.
You're saying that you have some responsibility?
If I would have known, yes, I do.
So you're saying that what you did wrong is you didn't know?
Yes,
You used methamphetamines, right?
that's correct.
But the only reason you did it is to stay awake to work, right?
Yes,
You gave Cheyanne Harris methamphetamines, right?
that's correct.
But the only reason you gave it to her is because she'd become difficult if you didn't, right?
That's correct.
You used your company's credit card without authorization, right?
Yes,
But the only reason you did it is to feed your family, right?
yes,
And you did that even though they told you you were going to be fired if you continued to do it, right?
correct.
But you only did it to feed your family.
And get hotel rooms, yes.
And you used that credit card to buy those items at Hy-Vee.
I didn't buy them personally, no.
You used that credit card.
Cheyanne did.
You gave it to her.
Yes,
Did you tell her what to buy?
I did not.
You lied on your logs, but you did it because you had to for your work, right?
Yes,
You lost your job, but every time you lost your job, it was somebody else's fault, right?
not always.
You lost one job because you didn't get paid, right?
Yes,
You lost another job because you moved to Iowa, right?
I quit that job.
You had some debt, credit card debt, right?
Yeah,
Was that your fault?
yes,
Was it Cheyenne? You didn't change diapers because you had a weak stomach, right?
that's correct.
And you couldn't handle the smell of feces, right?
Yes.
But you worked at a manure hauling company?
Human feces and animal feces are different in my nose.
Your nose is that refined?
Of course.
And the reason the house was a mess is because Cheyanne had a hard time putting away stuff, right?
Yes.
That was her fault, right?
If you say so. I don't think it...
Is that what you're saying?
No.
Sterling didn't go to the doctor, and that was Cheyanne's fault.
I said that she had an appointment made, but I wasn't sure if she had followed through with it or not.
It wasn't your responsibility to make sure Sterling had his well baby visit? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that. It's because she took my daughter to all her doctor visits, so I trusted her.
Asleep.
Yes.
You didn't see Sterling in your apartment because Cheyanne told you not to disturb him, right?
Yes.
You didn't turn the light on in Sterling's room because you didn't want Sterling to squint,
Yes.
right?
That's correct.
So that's why you couldn't see in the room?
You could see a little bit. It was a mild light with the lamp.
You didn't interact with Sterling in the living room of the apartment because he had a bad smell, right?
No.
A sour smell, you described it. Isn't that what you said?
Yes, but we were headed out on a family deal, so there wasn't much time to interact.
The reason you didn't call 911 right away is because you didn't have a cell signal. Is that right?
That is correct.
How many doors did you go knock on asking for a cell phone or asking for help?
None.
Why didn't you ask Jennifer Shriver to call 911?
I didn't think of it.
Well, what were you thinking about?
I was just disbelief. I mean, it was a whole bunch of thoughts running around into one.
When you were interviewed by the police, you were emotionless and you didn't cry because you only do that in private, right?
I like to, yes.
And you described finding your dead son in the swing in the next room matter-of-factly, didn't you?
Yes.
No emotion?
I guess not.
Now, Mr. Koehn, to be clear, you're not claiming that you're only going through the 8th grade, that you only going through the 8th grade didn't give you the skills to care for a baby, are you?
No.
Somebody who has an 8th grade education knows that a baby needs a diaper change, right?
Yes.
Needs to be fed a bottle, right?
Yes.
You don't have to take a biology class for that, do you?
I guess not. Probably health class.
Well, you knew that, right?
Yeah, from observations from other people.
You don't have to grow up with a TV or a radio in your house to know that, do you?
Probably not.
And to be clear, there's nothing about you growing up in a Mennonite community that explains the death of Sterling, does it?
No.
In fact, you grew up in a stable home, right?
Yes.
And you had parents that cared for you?
That's correct.
They provided you with clean clothes?
Yes.
Diapers when you needed them when you were an infant?
That is correct.
And they provided you a good example of how to be a father, didn't they?
Yes.
You're not claiming that you didn't know what it took to raise a child, did you?
No.
Now, you're also not claiming, are you, that you had the resources to provide for Sterling's care?
I'm sorry?
You're not claiming you didn't have enough money to provide for Sterling's care, are you?
No.
You made a good salary, right?
Decent, yes.
You ate every day, right?
Not every day.
Did you skip meals for some reason?
Yes.
Why?
Sometimes I didn't have money, or other times I didn't have time. I was working.
Did you skip meals to provide formula for your son?
A few times, yes.
When did you do that?
It would have been earlier August, late July.
Now, you saw the food that was bought on that receipt, correct?
I did not.
You didn't see it in your house?
Oh, yes, I meant, okay, yeah.
There was food in your house, right?
Yes, there was.
Can you explain how it was that you were well fed, Cheyanne was well fed, and Nala was well fed, and your son was dying of malnutrition in the back bedroom?
I cannot explain that, no.
You have no explanation?
I put my trust in the wrong person.
And that's what you did wrong?
I believe so, yes.
Let's talk about the dog for a second. Your dog was named Leo, right?
Yes,
Prior to 911 coming, you took Leo out of the house, didn't you?
I did.
Did you do that before or after you called 911?
It was after.
And your focus was on getting Leo out of your house.
Yes, because he was quite unfriendly.
And was Leo supposed to be in your house?
No.
Now, Leo is a dog, right?
Yes,
Did you care for Leo?
I did.
A dog has to be fed, right?
Yes.
Can't feed itself.
Nope.
A dog has to get water, right?
Yep.
Can't get water for itself.
Nope, he cannot.
Did you give that dog food?
Yes,
Did you give that dog water?
I did.
I assume you didn't want that dog using your apartment as a bathroom, right?
Correct.
You took the dog outside?
Yes.
Would you agree that you took better care of Leo than you did your own son?
The way it looks, yes.
How would you explain that?
I put my trust in the wrong person.
But you didn't trust her to take care of the dog?
Not all the time, no.
How would you explain that Nala was well taken care of?
I don't know.
Is it because you knew Nala was your child?
No.
Is it because you didn't think Sterling was your child?
No, that didn't have no matter to me.
So as I understand your testimony, the last you saw Sterling was on Monday, August the 28th.
Yes.
And you said he played with you. Correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And you went in that back bedroom,
Yes.
and you smelled a diaper smell,
Yes.
and you took the diapers out.
I did.
Did you go back in the room?
I did not.
How many diapers did you take out?
About 3 or 4.
Is that the first time in that apartment you smelled dirty diapers?
No.
Tell me about when you saw Sterling. What did he look like?
After?
No, when you went in on August 28th.
Oh. He looked to me to be alert and moving around. He was skinny though, but as far as I could tell from here on up, he was okay.
Because you said earlier that he was covered up to his neck with a blanket, right?
Uh-huh.
How was it you played with his finger?
He had them out.
So his arms were around the blanket?
Yes.
So you couldn't see any of his clothing, just his arms?
Yes.
Is that why you're saying you didn't know he was sitting in soaking wet clothing?
Yes.
I thought you had a weak stomach. You couldn't smell anything?
I did, and I took the diapers out, and I figured the smell was just lingering.
You're claiming that Sterling didn't look sick,
Yes.
and that's the last time you saw him.
Yes, until his death.
So, as I understand your testimony, you were surprised that Sterling had died, right?
Yes.
And so you went in that room and you checked at him, correct?
Yes.
And you touched his head.
I did.
You didn't grab him out of the chair.
No, because I could tell that he was already dead, because he was very pale and he wasn't moving at all, and he was staring straight ahead.
And you didn't want to grab him to see if there was anything you could do?
Well, no.
You didn't want to hold him to your chest and see what's wrong with my baby?
I could tell he was already cold by touching him.
You didn't want to take him and run out and say, somebody help me, my child. That never crossed your mind?
No, it didn't.
Instead, you went outside trying to call 911,
Yes,
and you smoked a cigarette.
I did.
Now, you said that you lied to John Turbot. You weren't truthful with him about the drug use, right?
Yes,
And the reason you did that is because you didn't want to get in trouble, right?
yes,
So you were thinking about yourself and not your dead son. Isn't that true?
not necessarily.
Well, didn't you want to give him all the information to find out what had happened to your son?
I did.
You told him that Cheyanne wasn't using drugs. That wasn't true, right?
That's correct.
Wouldn't that help him get to the truth?
It would have.
Why didn't you tell him that?
I was scared.
You also claim that you stopped using drugs 2 weeks before Sterling's death, right?
Yes,
So as I understand your testimony, you said at one time you were sleeping a lot because you'd been using drugs, right?
uh-huh.
But you stopped using 2 weeks before, you said?
The come down lasts a lot longer than 2 weeks.
So for 2 weeks you were sleeping longer than you should because of the drug use?
Yes,
So as I understand your testimony, you used drugs for 10 years, methamphetamine.
yes.
Then the 2 weeks before your son's death, you quit cold turkey?
I didn't quit cold turkey. It was just a money issue.
Well, what do you mean you didn't quit cold turkey? Did you use again?
No, I mean, I didn't just say, okay, this is the end of it. It's the money was the end of it.
Now you also told Special Agent Turbot, when you were interviewed that day, August 30th, that you heard Sterling cry at 6 o'clock in the morning. Do you remember saying that?
Yes,
And today you testified you didn't hear him.
yeah,
So why did you tell Special Agent Turbot that?
because I thought I had, but after that interview I spoke with the mother and I was told otherwise, so
Why did you think you had heard him?
I don't know, it was probably during my dreaming.
Sir, do you believe that Sterling laid in that diaper for over 9 days?
I would hope he didn't.
Is it your testimony that you didn't know that he had the same diaper on for at least 9, maybe 14 days?
Yes.
And it's your testimony that the door to that room was open?
Sometimes yes, sometimes it was closed.
And your room was right next door, a few feet away?
Yes.
How many times did you walk by Sterling's room in the last 2 weeks of his life?
Quite a few.
You never went in to check on him?
Sometimes.
What did he look like?
He looked fine to me.
When did you check on him prior to August the 28th?
It would have been probably a week before, maybe a half a week before.
So you checked him on August 28th and maybe a week before that or half a week before.
Yes.
Are those the only 2 times you checked on him?
Yeah. Because he would be crying and she was busy in the kitchen, so I'd go in there and, play with him a little bit and get him quieted down for her, and then she would bring a bottle.
And as I understand your testimony, Sterling, you called 911 on Wednesday at 12:55 p.m., correct?
Yes.
You were off that early Saturday morning until that Monday night from work, right?
Yes.
And you were home that entire time?
No.
How long were you home?
Probably the one day.
Where were you the other days?
I was off doing other things.
What were you doing?
Trading drugs for supplies and stuff like that.
I thought you had given up drugs.
Well, I had leftovers, but I wasn't doing them because we were short on money and we needed an extra bottle and some baby clothes and stuff like that. So I had saved that for trading purposes only.
So the weekend prior to Sterling's death, you were off trading drugs for what?
Baby supplies.
Well, what did you get?
Oh, I got a couple bottles. There was a red bottle and I got a bunch of little overalls for him. There was a couple of baby blankets, a bunch of toys. There are older child's toys, but I figured he could use them when he grows up. Stuff like that.
And so who did you get them from?
A friend in Twin Lakes, Minnesota.
So you drove to Twin Lakes, Minnesota with methamphetamine to trade for baby blanket, toys, and some bottles.
That would be correct.
That's your testimony.
Yes.
Now, in your apartment, you would agree that there were clean, unused diapers that were Sterling's, correct?
Yes.
You would agree that there were diaper wipes in the apartment, correct?
That is correct.
You would agree that there was clean clothing for Sterling in the apartment.
Yes.
You would agree that there was a can of formula that could be mixed up and put in the bottles that were in the apartment, correct?
Yeah, the sensitive stomach was almost empty, so for that formula, that's what I was usually going after because it was more expensive with money than it is with drugs.
You agree that there was clean clothing for Sterling?
Yes.
You agree that there was a clean blanket in that room for Sterling?
I believe so, yes.
So all that needed to be done was for you to use the supplies that were actually in the apartment to take care of Sterling, correct?
Yeah, that day. I was looking more into the long run, but that works too.
Would you agree that you failed Sterling as his father?
Yes.
Would you agree that you didn't provide him with the nourishment that he needed?
I would.
Would you agree that you didn't properly clothe him?
Yes.
That you didn't ensure he had clean diapers?
I would buy them, but I didn't diaper him or clothe him.
Do you think as a father you have any responsibility to make sure your child living in your house is well cared for?
Yes, I do.
And did you fail that responsibility?
I did.
What did you do wrong?
I should have stepped up, but I had my trust in the wrong person. If I would have known, I would have definitely stepped up.
It's your job to know, isn't it?
That is correct.
You told Special Agent Turbot that nothing looked out of place with Sterling when you were there, correct?
Uh-huh.
Do you stand by that testimony?
I do.
You told Special Agent Turbot that you talked to Cheyanne or Cheyanne was talked to in your presence about baby blues, correct?
Yes.
But she never told you she was depressed, right?
No.
You never noticed any signs of depression?
Not really. I'd call them more mood swings.
And if you had seen some signs, you would have stepped up, right?
Yes.
Now, sir, sometimes a father has to give up a child if they can't care for it, right?
Yes.
And you've done that yourself, haven't you?
Yes.
You gave up Caden.
Yes.
Sometimes a father has to do what's in the best interest of the child, right?
Yes, that's correct.
You knew that you could do that with Sterling.
I did, and I had mentioned it to her.
In fact, you called your brother and asked if he would take Sterling, right?
I did.
Why didn't you give Sterling to your brother?
She denied me that.
So it's her fault?
I wouldn't say that. She wasn't agreeing to it.
When you borrowed money from Mr. Nightingale, you told him it was for formula, right?
Yes.
It was for drugs, wasn't it?
No, it was not.
You didn't borrow $20 for drugs
No, I used my own money for that.
instead of providing for your child?
It was usually, when I asked him for that, we were out of money and I told him I'd pay him back. But usually I would buy formula before. All the time I'd buy it before I would get recreational drugs and things like that.
Nothing further?
Redirect.
Mr. Koehn, you said several times on cross-examination that you put your trust in the wrong person. Who was that person that you trusted?
Cheyanne Harris, the mother,
Where was she working at during Sterling's life?
she didn't have a job.
Outside of the home, she did not?
No.
You were asked about sleeping more after you stopped using methamphetamine. Why were you using the methamphetamine?
Stay awake and when I was driving truck.
And when you didn't use it, you slept more. Is that your testimony?
That's correct.
You were asked about obtaining methamphetamine. To your knowledge, did Cheyanne Harris ever get methamphetamine from anywhere other than you?
I had heard hearsay, but I wasn't sure if she had or not.
Do you know whether she ever used methamphetamine prior to meeting you?
No.
No, you don't know, or no, she didn't.
No, she didn't.
You were asked if you cared for Nala and did not provide for Sterling because he was not your son. Are you biologically related to Willis Koehn?
No.
How are you related to him?
Through adoption.
So you're not his biological son, are you?
No.
Is your mom your biological mother?
No, she is not.
Is Danny your biological brother?
No, he is not.
Do you have any other siblings?
I do.
Are any of them your biological siblings?
They are not.
Is everybody in your family adopted?
Yes.
I don't have any other questions, sir.
Recross.
No, sir.
You may step down. As with previous transcripts, the transcript that was just read will not be available for your review. Okay? And I'll explain that further. Further evidence from the defendant. You may. Feel free to stand. Be seated. Oh, you're fine. You're fine. Okay. The defense counsel will confer with Ms. Harris, and we have some other things we need to do outside of your presence. So we are going to take about a 40-45 minute break and run out, grab a quick lunch, come back. The state may have one more witness, we'll see. But that will let us tie up a lot of loose ends so that when we're done with testimony, we can let you go for the day and work on jury instructions. So run out, grab a bite to eat. We'll see you at 2:15. Continue to heed the admonition during this recess. Thank you.